Hindenburg Research has come out with a note saying that it has received a show cause notice from Indian markets regulator SEBI. The group calls the show cause notice nonsense and states that it's an attempt to silence and intimidate those who expose corruption and fraud perpetrated by the most powerful individuals in India. Hindenburg has alleged that while SEBI seemingly tied itself in knots to claim jurisdiction over it, the regulator conspicuously failed to name the party that has an actual tie with India, which is the Kotak Bank, one of India's largest banks and brokerage firms. Hindenburg Research, remember, published a 106-page report last year alleging Adani Group's engagement in a brazen stock market manipulation and accounting fraud scheme over the course of decades. This is what they had claimed. I have the email right here on my screen. I would like to show it to our viewers as well. It is dated June 27th, 2024. This has been sent by SEBI to Hindenburg itself. We can show it to our viewers. They have in fact made an attachment as well. Right here, yes, there seems to be a technical difficulty that was occurring earlier, but it seems that the crew upstairs has finally reflected it. This is the email, Thursday 7:56 a.m. It's dated June 27th as well. In fact, in this notice, the regulator has alleged that Hindenburg and Anderson have violated regulations under the SEBI Act, SEBI's Prevention of Fraudulent and Unfair Trade Practices Regulation, and SEBI's Code of Conduct for Research Analyst Regulations. Meanwhile, the regulator has also pointed out that Hindenburg and FPI entities undertook a misleading disclaimer that the report was solely for the valuation of securities traded outside India when it clearly pertained to listed entities in India itself. And what I'd also like to point out to our viewers that it was NewsX which had hosted a campaign for a very long period of time requesting the SEBI to in fact issue a show cause notice to Hindenburg over the short selling that had occurred earlier. Meanwhile, of course, Hindenburg has responded to all of these claims. Hindenburg, remember viewers, had triggered a massive 150 billion rout in Adani stocks all the way back in January 2023. Hindenburg meanwhile has characterized SEBI show cause notice as attempted intimidation and stated that this is a nebulous allegation. They've also in fact responded that the one investor partner and net of course may barely come out above break even. Meanwhile, they've also gone on to state, you can see this response that we have accessed. They've stated that while SEBI seemingly tied itself in knots to claim jurisdiction over us, its notice conspicuously failed to name the party that has an actual tie to India, the Kotak Bank. Kotak Bank, of course, being one of India's largest banks and brokerage firms. It's been dragged into this matter now as well. Instead, it simply named the K India Opportunities Fund and masked the Kotak name with the acronym KMIL. Remember, viewers, Uday Kotak, founder of the bank, personally led SEBI's 2017 Committee on Corporate Governance. Hindenburg has further gone on to state that they suspect SEBI's lack of mention of Kotak or any other Kotak board member may be meant to protect yet another powerful Indian businessman from the prospect of scrutiny, roles SEBI seems to embrace. So they have completely hit back at this report, and they have gone on to in fact state that they had they're always, I beg your pardon, made some disclaimers public itself with regards to the indirect participating in the Indian security market. This is what they've stated. Meanwhile, viewers, let's also, in fact, just to refresh all of your memories, let's take a look at a complete timeline of what exactly had taken place right since January 2023. Remember, viewers, when the report had come out, the Hindenburg had published a report in January 2023 claiming Adani Group manipulated stocks. So this was Hindenburg's big allegation. Remember how it led to a rout in Adani Group stocks much later on. This is in fact estimated to be around 150 billion. The valuation of Adani companies in the stock market had dropped significantly after the Hindenburg report was published. Subsequently, a PIL was filed in the Supreme Court and it appointed a committee to investigate the matter itself. As far as the investigation is concerned, in May, it was found that no evidence of Adani Group violating existing market regulations had taken place. The Supreme Court said, meanwhile, that SEBI had not made too much progress in its investigation and had given SEBI some amount of time, some amount of extension in order to continue its probe into the matter. And let's also take a look at what exactly the probe details were. As I said earlier, SEBI was given an extension to submit its report. Meanwhile, in July, SEBI told the Supreme Court that it awaits crucial information from jurisdictions known for their tax haven status. So this is what SEBI was probing. SEBI also told the Supreme Court that it concluded its investigations of all but 2 allegations against the Adani Group all the way back in July 2023. In August, SEBI sought more time from the Supreme Court to conclude its inquiry into the case as well. But of course, we've been seeing in November, SEBI told the Supreme Court that it would not be seeking extension to complete the probe in the Adani case as far as the matter is concerned. In January 2024, the Supreme Court, meanwhile, refused to form an SIT to probe the Adani Group, and today, we're getting to know that SEBI had sent a show cause notice to Hindenburg after a consistent effort was made by NewsX to do so. We have been, in fact, campaigning rigorously over the course of time in order to ensure that SEBI files such a show cause notice against Hindenburg and a probe against Hindenburg into the short selling that had taken place is commenced. Meanwhile, joining us on the broadcast is Dr. Sharat Kohli, senior economist, as well as Jayjeet Bhattacharya, president of CDE-PR, as well as Professor Aman Agarwal, director of Indian Institute of Finance. First of all, a very good afternoon. Thank you for speaking to us on the broadcast. My very first question to Dr. Kohli. So you've been sitting with us since January 23 itself, since the day this had taken place, when Hindenburg had released its so-called report, and we have been rigorously campaigning ever since that point of time for a show cause notice to be issued to Hindenburg. Now, Hindenburg's response is very flippant, is it not?
Good afternoon, Pia. Good afternoon to my fellow panelists and dear NewsX viewers. Absolutely, if NewsX was amongst the first to be advocating the fact that Hindenburg should not be let off as easily as they think they are, I was amongst the first of your many panelists who said that Government of India, SEBI, stock exchanges, whosoever, they must take action, legal action against Hindenburg, because all the allegations which it was trying to levy was very categorical and clear that it was being done with a foul intention of short selling and with a very, very sharply vested interest to make profits. So I think, there is a saying in English, Pia, you fool me once and it's shame on you. That is what probably SEBI is trying to say, or the markets are trying to say. You fool me once, it's shame on you. Fool me twice, and it's shame on me. And I don't think markets are going to take a shame. The markets are at an all-time high. The markets have completely ignored, for the benefit of NewsX viewers, I would like to inform, they have completely ignored the comments being made by Hindenburg recently in response to the show cause notice being given by SEBI, because Hindenburg continues to say that there was a fraud, there was this, there was that. Let me not go into the history of whatever happened. But the fact of the matter is that it's a very welcome step taken by SEBI, and I hope and wish that this show cause notice is followed up by a proper suit in the courts of United States against Hindenburg, where they should be brought to books as to what was the intention behind, who made money out of this. So on one side, they say they are making money, which is the side they are hiding. But what they are coming out in the open is that there is a fraud, and SEBI-like agencies are trying to defend groups like Adani and so on and so forth, which is nothing but a bunch of nonsense. And, I think Hindenburg would learn the hard way. immediately after the expiry of the show cause notice period, which I'm sure SEBI has given in that notice, I think a suit should be moved. A very comprehensive suit should be moved in United States courts so that Hindenburg does not, backed by George Soros and other such people who want to run anti-India, anti-establishment campaigns, anti-democracy campaigns, I would say, they should be discouraged. They should know that if they do these kind of things, they have to face the consequences, and they cannot be just let off by a simple, short selling which happens, which results in more than 12 lakh crore rupees being knocked off market capitalization, when, hundreds and thousands of investors, retail investors, they lost money. Some of them lost. Some of them felt very nervous. If they were holding on to it, they would have recovered the money. But a lot of investors must have booked the losses simply because somebody sitting in the United States wanted to make money out of it. It was a very, very sorry state at that particular time. I remember doing numerous shows on your channels, and we were very vociferous. We were very clear that Hindenburg should not be let off. And I'm so happy that first step by SEBI has been taken now. And for the information of NewsX viewers, for the people who do not invest in Adani stocks, all the Adani stocks have almost regained the earlier positions. Adani stocks are amongst now the best performing stocks in the stock exchange. The markets are at an all-time high. Yesterday also they touched all-time high. Today they are in a slight consolidation mode. We are well over 24,000 as far as Nifty is concerned. And Adani stocks, so all the 7-8 stocks are contributing significantly to that. Not just Adani, it is an across the board rally which is happening in banking, in oil sector, in Reliance, in every other big group. There is a rally happening. So I'm not trying to single out Adani, that Adani is responsible for this rally, but Indian economy is going gaga. Indian economy is very robust. We are heading towards becoming third largest economy, and somebody is getting a heartburn sitting out there that how can a country of snake charmers become the third largest economy in the world? PR.
Indeed, and I'd like to take some of the points that you've made across to Jajit Bhattacharya, who's also with us on the broadcast. Dr. Kohli has mentioned that there is no doubt that this was a bid. Hindenburg's ploy was a bid to destabilize the Indian economy. Valuation of stocks plummeted across the board, and he's also spoken about the need for a probe next. Do you think the US courts, it's high time the US courts take cognizance of this matter?
Absolutely. I resonate with what Dr. Kohli just mentioned. Let me, go into a little bit of more detail. The Adani, the Hindenburg group says that they barely came out break even. They did not earn much money. They earned only $4.1 million. Then what were they doing, spending their time and effort for 1.5 years to come out with their investigation? Were they doing it for global charity, or what were they doing? Or are they an incompetent organization which is not able to make profit from such a short selling? And if they're not into profit making, then the question comes in that what is it that they were aiming to do? What was the larger purpose? Because in tandem with the report, immediately there were cases filed in Supreme Court by a bunch of advocates who are who are known to have certain viewpoints. And it's the same set of people who say the country should be broken down. The same set of people who say large companies of India should be broken down. And how come this tandem work has happened without anyone gaining? It was all for public service. So, the points that Hindenburg has come out with don't seem to be coherent at all. It also says and accuses that SEBI seems to be more interested in pursuing those who expose such practices. Instead of responding to SEBI's notice, they're trying to charge SEBI itself. And please keep in mind that SEBI is a venerated institution of this country. It's a pillar of this country. How dare Hindenburg goes and starts making such charges without having any substantiated proof to back up any of the accusations they're making? I'll repeat what they said. They said SEBI seems to be more interested in pursuing those who expose such practices. Now, SEBI has done the investigation on Adani. In fact, even 2 weeks ago, SEBI has sent notices to Adani for various things. SEBI has to continue with its work, be it Adani, be it a smaller company, be it a larger company. Hindenburg has to respond to SEBI's notice rather than start charging SEBI. It also said that the company did not, which is Adani, did not effectively respond to the concerns outlined in its report. Now, who is Hindenburg that we need to report to? Are we supposed to be reporting to, and our company is supposed to be reporting to and laying in prostrate in front of Hindenburg, and we are supposed to respond to them. They will write whatever, and the only thing we have to do is respond to Hindenburg. Please keep in mind that Hindenburg's report led to $150 billion getting wiped out, and it took us 1.5 years for Adani to come back to its original valuation, which means for 1.5 years, we could not make the investments that India needs. And if we say that the government should not get into toothpaste making, government should not get into business, then who will? Businesses have to get into businesses. But if we are now breaking the legs of our businesses also, then neither government nor businesses can set up the infrastructure, can set up the green power that we need, the green hydrogen that we need. We can't do any of it. Because there is a company called Hindenburg which says that I need to be reported to for all the accusations that I've made, which has gone through the Supreme Court of India. It's going through that process. But Hindenburg is apparently higher than the Supreme Court of India. These are comments which are not acceptable. In fact, they have now come out with a new point that an Indian bank was involved. So why didn't they mention that earlier? This is hiding of information. This is something that they should have told to SEBI rather than trying to sensationalize this. If they really wanted to cooperate, they should have given this information to SEBI. Why are they sending it out as a sensationalized information rather than as responding to a request for information? Not only that, they're now saying that SEBI seemingly tied itself in knots to claim jurisdiction over us. Obviously, they are in US, they're hiding in US behind the US walls, and SEBI does not have jurisdiction over Hindenburg in that sense. So SEBI must have figured out a way to claim that jurisdiction where Hindenburg thought they are safe behind the US walls. At the same time, SEBI's Hindenburg is saying that we will now file an RTI. So you're not a citizen of India, but you'll try to claim all the benefits that have been made for the citizen of India to meet your end goals, which you have not even clarified what your end goals are. Because you have said your end goals is not profit. Then what is your end goal? Is your end goal to break down India, to break down the companies of India, to take away jobs from here, to take away the investments from here? Please let us know, Mr. Hindenburg, and I mean the corporation Hindenburg, to what is your end goal? It also said, which is quite constraining, is that SEBI's show cause notice is an attempted intimidation. Hindenburg wrote that the regulator had made the nebulous allegations that Hindenburg report contained misrepresentations and inaccurate statements meant to mislead readers. Now, that is what SEBI is supposed to do. They are asking why these allegations have been made when it's very clear from SEBI's investigation that no such thing has happened, or some such things happened that SEBI will take it forward. Who is Hindenburg to question SEBI on its actions? They're not even an Indian citizen for that matter.
Indeed.
And so on and so forth. They are calling the SEBI notice as a nonsense, concocted, preordained purpose. Please answer to the notice rather than making these, press releases, which are just full of words, full of words.
Indeed, it's just jargon that they have been putting out. But I'd like to remind our viewers the charges against the Adani Group were made by Hindenburg and OCCRP. Dr. Bhattacharya had mentioned George Soros as well. George Soros' Open Society Foundation is in fact one of the donors of the OCCRP. And I'd like to take this forward to Dr. Kohli. Soros is of course known as the man who broke the Bank of England all the way back in 1992. He made almost $1 billion back then. So do you think the amount that Hindenburg has quoted, the measly 4.1 million as compared to the billion that he made back then, do you think this is true? And do you think people will believe this?
Obviously not, Pia. I mean, it's a bunch of lies. In fact, I'll make a statement going forward. I think next time Hindenburg makes a comment against some company, some country, it's going to be crying wolf. Nobody's going to believe that. Take this from me. No one in future is going to believe that. Supreme Court has given a clean check. SEBI's committee has given a clean check. I think we would trust our own, system here rather than trusting what Hindenburg is saying. The entire country, I was talking to a bunch of investors of Adani. And, the shock that they got initially, there was a knee-jerk reaction in the beginning. We remember in January 2023 when this whole thing happened. And today they say, I was talking to them today morning also when this whole thing happened and this news came out. That is what I said, the saying that you fool me once and it's shame on you. Fool me twice and it's shame on me. So they said, we are not going to get fooled again and again. Let Hindenburg talk. So already Hindenburg is losing its credibility. I mean, the purpose for which Nathan Anderson has made this organization, purpose for which George Soros is connected with this, funding this, with nefarious intentions, malignant intentions. I think that purpose was to make money. The same money is then pumped in different countries, as you mentioned about Bank of England. You mentioned about so many things there. We saw Hindenburg Adani incident happening in our country. This is happening in countries after country. So as the news spreads, Pia, Hindenburg, I can bet, is going to lose its credibility. And next time when Hindenburg makes a comment about somebody, a company or a country, nobody on earth is going to believe that. So I think the days of Hindenburg being able to make money out of these allegations, out of this propaganda, are sort of gone. I have a feeling. I think Hindenburg must try in some other country and see if it has a similar kind of profit that they generate. Going forward, I think Hindenburg is only inviting trouble for itself. I would also urge, Pia, through your platform today, just the way SEBI has issued a show cause notice, I would also urge Adani Group. Adani Group is very large, is quite capable. They have got interest in different parts of the world as well. They must very comprehensively take up this matter in the appropriate courts in the United States and file a proper defamation suit. And I can tell you, defamation suits in the US, if they are found to be substantial, they can really cause trouble for Hindenburg, because so many government agencies in the United States at that time had disassociated themselves from Hindenburg, that it has got nothing to do with the government machinery. Hindenburg is completely a private research, whatever firm I'm told it's a team of 9 people sitting somewhere out there and trying to defame rest of the world, I would say, because they've done it so many times. So I think Adani Group must also, along with SEBI or independently, file a defamation suit and make a claim of minimum of $1 trillion for having lost on its reputation. As Dr. Bhattacharya rightly said, it took us 1.5 years to get back that valuation. Why I'm saying us is, I'm not an Adani investor, but market capitalization belongs to the whole country, to the entire lot of 15 crore demat accounts we have in this country as of today. So I think to recoup what has happened, $1 trillion defamation suit should be filed against Hindenburg by Adani Group for defaming and affecting its future projects, affecting countries' infrastructure development, affecting countries' overall development, causing uproar in the parliament, disruption of the government machinery. All that happened. It was a shame, actually. It was much ado about nothing. And that's what came out. This is what is frustrating Hindenburg. And this is why it's alleging SEBI that you are trying to stop people who want to bring corruption to the surface. What corruption? They are the ones who are corrupt. They are the ones who are running a campaign. So I think it is in Hindi there is a saying, "Khisiani billi khamba noche," which means you are frustrated, you got no way out now, and you're just trying to make sure that offense is the best form of defense. Unfortunately, that principle doesn't work in all situations, Pia.
Indeed, and last word to Dr. Bhattacharya, what do you think will happen next? Do you concur with the suggestion put forth by Dr. Kohli?
Absolutely. Somebody must, bring Hindenburg to book. And unfortunately, as I said, they are sitting in the jurisdiction of the United States of America. And they are getting away with a lot of things that they have done. And it's not acceptable. I mean, just trying to accuse SEBI of pressurizing brokers behind the scenes to close short positions in Adani, that's a completely unacceptable allegation. Have they backed it up with anything? Have they told who are the brokers who are pressurized? This is an assault on the institutions of India. And I'm pretty sure this will now be resonated across various Western media, saying that India is a banana republic, its institutions are tin pot institutions. This is quite not acceptable at multiple levels. And therefore, taking this forward, obviously, in terms of investigations, after 1.5 years, if nothing has come out from on the investigations of Adani, then probably there was nothing wrong. And the market, with so many investors involved, have given a huge thumbs up. They have done their own investigations. So the question really is now that who are the other players who needs to be brought to book, which basically is Hindenburg. And also they need to reveal who their investor was. They talked about their investor who had worked through an Indian bank, and they revealed that information only now. They also need to reveal who this investor was. And why is it that along with this, George Soros worked in tandem, and some of the agents in India worked in tandem to take this report to the court almost immediately, that they were pre-prepared for this report to come out, and they immediately took it to the poll. So how come this synchronization, orchestration happened? And clearly none of it seems to be in the interest of the country. And therefore steps needs to be taken, as Dr. Kohli mentioned, of bringing Hindenburg to book and sending a strong signal that nobody else should dare do this against Indian institutions.
All right, with that, I would like to thank both Dr. Kohli and Dr. Bhattacharya for taking our time speaking to us on the broadcast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.